Good evening, everyone. I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, the big reveal. Today, President Obama unveiled his plan for the next 4 years.
Folks who are still not convinced, they can look right here and find out what it is I intend to do in a second term.
All right, that booklet in his hand, I've got it here. It's a new 20-page glossy from the Obama campaign laying out the president's policies. Now, they put a lot of time and effort into this glossy thing because 3.5 million copies are going to be mailed to swing state households. Millions more are going to be given out door to door, and that's not all. The campaign also released a new 60-second ad today airing in those 9 key battleground states.
We've made real progress, and the last thing we should do is turn back now. Here's my plan for the next 4 years.
So what new information warranted this big campaign rollout just 2 weeks before Election Day? Well, nothing really, and the campaign admits as much.
Obviously, a lot of people have made up their minds. There is a small universe of voters who haven't. We want to make sure that those voters have access to the information they need to make the judgment as to which direction they want to go.
So what we've really got is a fancy repackaging of ideas that we've heard before. And some of the pages here, reviving American manufacturing, energy made in America, growing small businesses, putting you in charge of your health care. These are familiar topics, but here's the problem. Some of these ideas still don't add up. So let's take the core of it, the president's tax and deficit plan. According to the glossy, and I'll read it here, President Obama's plan reduces the deficit by more than $4 trillion over the next decade. How, you might ask? Well, first, the president includes $1 trillion in spending cuts already signed into law last year. So those are cuts already on the books, no matter who's in the Oval Office. So maybe then it's $3 trillion. But next, the president says the plan makes sure that millionaires aren't paying lower tax rates than many middle-class families. Now, to that end, the president plans to let the Bush tax cuts expire for households making above $250,000 a year. According to the Joint Committee on Taxation, that would reduce the deficit by just $829 billion over the next 10 years. Not even a quarter of the $4 trillion that the president says he's going to guarantee. Now, the president also says he'll get there by cutting corporate loopholes and cutting spending. Now, of course, he doesn't say what loopholes or what spending. Sound familiar?
You say that you're going to pay for it by closing loopholes and deductions without naming what those loopholes and deductions are, and then somehow you're also going to deal with the deficit that we've already got. The math simply doesn't work.
All right, let's take a look at one more aspect of the president's plan as laid out in today's glossy. The president would commit half of the money saved from responsibly ending wars in Iraq and Afghanistan to reducing the deficit, and the other half to putting Americans back to work rebuilding roads, bridges, runways, and schools here in the United States. All right, the problem is, here's what the president said just a couple of weeks ago.
One of the main reasons we went from record surpluses into record deficits is because we put 2 wars and 2 tax cuts on a credit card.
All right, that's right. The money spent in Afghanistan and Iraq was largely borrowed, the president's word, put on a credit card. And he even wrote that in his glossy. So how can the president save the money which was borrowed in the first place? And how can he save money that he never intended to spend, since the administration has long said it would end those wars? It doesn't add up.